about testing on mobile and some of the flexibility and ease of use that we see because we use AI first, because we use machine learning and machine vision to do our testing for us. So I want to start by giving a short overview of Test.ai. And actually, let me just make sure that I've got a chat window up. Want to make sure I'm catching any questions that you guys have. So please feel free to jump in, add questions, in our chat, and I'll get to them as they come on in. But yeah, so yeah, definitely ask questions, we'll answer it. I want to give an overview of what Test.ai is and what it does. I want to run through a test sequence so we can see the power of using AI first and computer vision first testing on web and mobile applications, and then we'll get into a bit of QA. All right. So Test.ai, there we go. So Test.ai is a testing platform. It's a testing system that is built entirely around artificial intelligence. It's designed to allow your testing automation systems to look at and interact with your applications the way that a user would. It looks at your screens, looks at components, understands how to interact with such components as buttons, tabs, search bars, etc. And so you're able to go through, show the bot what your app does, tell the bot what your tests need to look like, and then the bot will be able to go through and complete them the way that a manual tester would. This also allows us to bring in a lot more people into test automation. It's point and click in the truest sense. We're not recording tests that bots can play back. We're not trying to create a whole bunch of code behind the scenes. We're literally saying, you go here, you look at this, you test this, evaluate this action, and continue. It's point and click in the best sense. And because it's point and click, because it's visual first, and because it's so simple, it makes maintenance a lot easier. We're going to get into all that in just a minute. But yeah, so we're going to do a demo. And this demo, we're going to add an app to a mobile device. We're going to explore it. We're going to tell the bot what we care about for this test, build a test, and run it. And then we're going to expand on that and show what we can do with that test once it's built. Any questions before we get moving? Actually, I want to stay on the demo for a minute. Any questions before we get moving on the demo? Excellent. All right, so I'll go ahead and pop that down for a second. So here we go. We've got our Test.ai interface here, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to be using a physical mobile device that I've been working with. Close that down. And this is a device I'm using. Visor, by the way. Visor is an extremely useful program for watching and monitoring what's happening on mobile device on the fly while you're doing testing. But yeah, so I'm using Visor, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spin this test up. So we're mobile store. And what I've done is I've plugged this device in. I'm going to go ahead and launch a mobile app that we developed. Launch on this device here. Here we got that. We also have the option to use emulators. This is both for iOS and for Android. And there we go. We're going to install the app on the device. We're going to start Explorer, and we're going to watch a little bit about what happens here. So what's happening right now is the bot's reaching out to my mobile device, reaching out to my Android phone, and it's going to upload the application that we've designed. It's a simple store application. It's going to upload it, and then it's going to run it. And then what's going to happen behind the scenes is our bot's going to start crawling through this screen. It's going to be looking for the different elements. It's going to be basing this information off of a machine learning model that we've built that can identify and understand the different components in an application, whether it's web, mobile, Roku, desktop. We've done a wide variety of tests and on a wide variety of applications, and use that to build a robust machine learning model that can understand these applications. So there we go. Our bot has crawled through the app. And as you can see here, we have, so on the left here, you can see what the bot's looking at. You can see these little pink boxes that pop up that show us what exactly the bot's looking at. It's different components. In the center here, we've got these different components. And on the right, we've got the ability to build test cases. So here we're going to do a very, very simple test. And this test is going to verify adding an item to a cart. There we go. All right, well, I think I just got a question. Checking here. All right, so let's see. All right, no questions there. So what we want to do is we want to be able to go through, we want to find an item in this application. We're going to add it to a cart, and we're going to verify that it made it to the cart. And if we're doing this with Appium, if we're doing this with one of our other coding tools, we're already far ahead of where we want to be. In this case, I literally just plugged in a phone and told Test.ai to look at that phone and add the application that we wanted to it. We didn't have to do a lot of coding. We didn't have to do a lot of additional setup. There's no additional configurations we have to do. Our platform understands these applications, understands these devices, and knows how to interact with them. So it's literally the same as taking a manual tester, handing them a phone, saying, go to this application, go from there. All right, so there we go. So what we want to do is we want to find something to buy. We want to put it in the cart. We want to verify it made it to the cart. We're going to do it here. We're going to do it with one of our bracelets here. So I'm going to go ahead, start. We want to go to accessories. Let me go ahead. Here we go. Going to search for our accessories button here. There we go. We use machine learning and we use character recognition to be able to, and natural language processing to be able to pull data from elements as we pull them up and identify them. So take that. We're going to get fashion accessories, and all we need to do here, again, this is like working with manual tester. I've pointed out to the bot that this element is one of interest, and now I'm going to tell the bot that we want to tap on it, just like you would with manual tester. It's as simple as that. So we're going to go in, we're going to take that action, we're going to run it against the application here. And if you look back here, we're going to watch the bot go in, pull up the application, and click on accessories. There we go. So it's going back there, it's processing the screens, chopping things up, and it will click on accessories, and then we'll move forward. Any questions? Yeah, we actually do. So, while this is going, our machine learning model is based on a number of different factors in your application. It's not just based on, it's not just visual only. It's not DOM only. It uses 88 different factors to understand and identify what an element is on the screen. So in addition to visual appearance, it's also looking at position on the screen. It's looking at any text associated with the elements, looking at proximity to other elements here. It's looking at, there's a variety of different things that our machine learning model has picked up to understand how to reliably identify and understand a specific element on a specific screen. So there we go, we've gotten there. And I think let's go ahead, let's buy the anchor bracelet. I like this one. I like this one mostly because there's no anchors on this bracelet. If you look closely, it's a heart, and we'll tell it to look for the anchor bracelet. I'm going to tell it to click on that. And as you can see, we have a lot of different options for what we do. We can do text entry, we can double press, we can swipe up, down, but the reality is most of our interactions on mobile, in this case, are going to be taps. So we're going to go ahead and tap on anchor bracelet. Now, while we're doing that, there's one other thing that we've done. So instead of going through the tedious process of going through and adding the same sequence again and again and again for multiple tests, I went ahead and I created a subtest here. So we've got our add to cart, but here we've got a subsequence for adding to cart, which I'm going to go ahead and use. And what that does is that is going to go ahead and it's going to take this, it's going to find the, oops, there we go. It's going to find the add to cart button, it's going to add it to the cart, and it's going to go to the cart so we can do a verification. I just like having that in place because that way I don't have to duplicate code constantly. So we'll add that there. I'm going to save it. And then the final thing we're going to do is we want to do a verification. So in this case, there's no point in doing a test if you're not verifying that things work. So I'm going to go ahead and take the same label I created earlier. If you look over here, there we go. Let's go ahead and let's make sure we got that. So there we go. That didn't get labeled. So every time we do this label here, we're training our machine learning model. We're making it smarter. And so every time our bot looks at this and says, okay, yeah, I understand what this is now. So instead of having to go through and find it on the DOM for each page we do, and instead of having to go through and label it for different sizes and different aspects, ratios, and different resolutions, instead, I'm giving the bot an example and saying this is an anchor bracelet. And so I'm able to go ahead and use it regardless of what screen we're on for building this test. So we have this test, we're going to verify an anchor bracelet, we're going to save. But now here's the great part. So I've went ahead, I've built this on mobile, but I've also already gone through our web application. We have a web application over here. Pull this up. We have a web application that we also do tests on. I've gone through, I've done some tests on this, and so I've got a bunch of different stuff labeled. And so what I can do here, now that I've built this, because we are visual first, and this is to save you time, because we're visual first, our bot doesn't really care what platform we're interacting with. Yeah, I've built this on Android here. I'm going to go ahead and stop this crawl now that our bot has fulfilled its purpose. But because we are visual first, because we use machine learning, because we use computer vision, I can take this same app, I can take the same test here. I can take it and duplicate it. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move it over to our web suite. There we go, because all we need to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move it to our web store. And as you can see now, so we were in our mobile store, now we're in the web store. Web store, very different UI. I'll show you some of the screens, but as we've got tabs, we've got a different cart, we've got a different way to get to items in the cart, we've got a different way to get to different things we can buy, we've got different mouse overs, different add to cart sequence. But the reality is that doesn't really matter at all. So I'm going to go ahead, I've done verify add to cart web. We've got accessories, anchor bracelet. I'm going to do the add to cart subsequence and image anchor bracelet to verify. Let's go ahead and just run this test. Let's live a little dangerously. So here's a Test.ai store build. And this is the URL we're going to run it against. I'm going to verify add to cart web. I'm going to run this test. And so what I've just done is I've just saved myself a huge amount of time. Not only do I not have to switch between coding platforms, I don't have to switch between languages, I don't have to switch between anything, but I can take the same knowledge and understanding that I had with my mobile app and transfer it instantly over into web. It is literally that simple. I've just become a multi-platform test automation engineer with no extra work whatsoever. So there we go. We can see the test results. It passed. And the other thing I really love with Visual First is we can go into the details and we can see exactly what our bot did, when it did it, and what it understood. So here we can go through, we can verify. Here we see that it did click on the accessories button. And this is, it's telling us it passed. It's always good to double check this, especially when you're first building a test. Verify we found the anchor bracelet, verify that we found the add to cart page button, went to the cart, and verified the anchor bracelet showed up in our cart page. Again, you'll notice that also we have multiple sizes and scales and locations and DOM positions of these anchor bracelet images. Doesn't matter. Machine learning, AI first, means that just like you don't have to train a manual tester to understand each version of an image, you don't have to train your machine learning model to understand each version of an image. They just know because they're smart. But then there's one last thing I want to talk about. And the last thing I want to get to before, ooh, sweet, thank you. Yes, it is awesome. But the last thing I want to talk about is maintenance. And as any automation engineer will tell you, when you build an automated test, it's not just the time you spend on the first test. You're looking at 5 to 10 to 20 times that amount of time to maintain that test over time. And do you know why that is? That's because you have developers. Developers break things. We pay them to add new features, we pay them to improve stuff, but from our end, that means that things change, our tests change, need to be updated, features change, everything changes. And it sounds really, really whiny, but from a test side, you know that every test you build commits you to 10 times the work to maintain it. So here we go. I'm going to show you our staging environment. So we have our staging environment. Our devs haven't changed too much on it, but they've changed some layout. They've changed where these tabs set up and where they are in the DOM. They've changed what our actual shopping pages look like. They've changed what we do as far as our user flow, and here's one last thing they've changed here. If you remember before, our anchor bracelet didn't have anchors. Looks like somebody caught that error and they've fixed that. But let's see what happens when we run against that. This is our last thing, because I love talking about maintenance, because this is the thing you dread as so you do that, and I want to add a new build. Oops, there we go. That will not go where we want it to go. That will. So, and again, this is another thing where instead of having to go through and set up new environments, new builds, new staging levels, and try to figure out how to test against all these things, you just add your new build, because all you're doing is saying, hey, bot, go test here. Hey, tester, go test here. Same difference. So we're going to add this build, we're going to run the same test, and we're going to watch it fail. And as everybody tells you, wow, nobody stutters that much when they say it, but the failures are where you learn. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to fail this, we're going to watch, and we're going to see how easy it is to maintain these tests with Test.ai. So there we go. We see this anchor bracelet here. That's a real anchor bracelet, yet it's also a crusher of our dreams. And we're going to watch this failure come up. We're going to see the little red one. We failed. We're going to look at our results. Could not find image anchor bracelet. Go to the details, and here we go. Our bot stopped here because it could not find it. Now, if this was a bug, we'd go ahead and we'd report this, but this is a update to our platform because somebody caught a bug that has been persistent for years and really confusing our customers. By the way, we don't have customers who use the site. Please don't buy anything from it. We don't stock these things. But here we go. This is our anchor bracelet. So, oh, actually, let me back up really quickly because it's so easy to do this that I always just sort of run over it. But here we go. We're in our test results. We can see the step that failed. We can see the information on why it failed. I'm going to go ahead and just going to copy that because that makes it faster. There's no point in watching me type all day. But we go into the step and we click this edit button. And what this has done, and again, I have to slow myself down because it's so fast, is you go in and once you click on that button, our bot goes back through, it takes the screen, it reprocesses it and pulls all the information out that it could use for identifying what's in the future. And here we go. This is our new anchor bracelet. I'm going to add a label to it, and we've just made our bot smarter. We've just made our machine learning model smarter. We've updated this so that now that our bot understands that this is an anchor bracelet. And this doesn't just affect this test. This affects our entire suite. If I have 50 tests, each one that touch on an anchor bracelet, I've just updated all of them with one click. I've just taken care of an incredible amount of maintenance just with that one click. So now if we go ahead and we run this test again, and oh, I love doing this. I'm going to run this test. We are going to do a verify add to cart. We're going to run this test. And we're just running. And it's going to find the anchor bracelet. It's going to add it to the cart. It's going to verify that cart. And then we're going to validate that this test ran. We're going to get a passed result. And again, I mean, it feels possibly a little bit too simple, but I literally just saved myself 4 hours of coding time compared to having to write these tests both on Appium and in Selenium and maintain and update and keep track of what broke, go through logs and fix them. That's the power of Test.ai. That's the power of machine learning. That's the power of computer vision. It's not just something we added in on the side. It's the core of what we are and what we do. We use machine learning to allow you to test, to build automated tests the same way you would train a manual tester. And it's like having that same manual tester available 24/7, 365, reliable every single time. And that's the power of Test.ai. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to these slides really quick because that helps. And I'll take a minute and does anybody have any questions before I get into the nuts and bolts? All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah, so what if we want to do something more complicated? I'm actually going to escape back out of this really fast. So if we want to do something a little bit more complicated, on the surface, you know, Test.ai is very, very simple. It's easy to work through. It's point and click, but we also have power behind the scenes. So in the event that you want to do something more complicated, if you want to be able to pull data out of an element, if you want to compare it against something you pull from an API or a database, if you want to pull in data, if you want to have more complex interactions or do script injection or anything like that, we have a script interface, a scripting interface where you can build Python scripts, roll in and interact with the application programmatically, interact with your elements programmatically, get information on exact position, get information. And you can also do things with it if you want to do something unique with the machine learning model itself. Again, I said we have something like 88 different inputs that go into our models. You can tweak some of that. You can tweak the color levels of what's going and whether you want to do your evaluations on grayscale or full color elements. You can adjust the sensitivity of the model. You can adjust your models to pay attention to such things as, I want to show you, pay attention to such things as text. Say that you have the search products button, but you want to be able to verify it in multiple languages. Then we can discount the text in that and verify that we're getting the correct language for that element at any given time. So yeah, there's a lot we can do beyond the simple point and click. And it's actually very straightforward and simple to do. It's actually a wonderful place for people who are, you know, to build their coding skills or to get a coder involved with a manual tester and get them both working on something as well. So there's a lot of stuff we can do. All right, any other questions before we get back in? All right. So one of the questions we get is Cicd integration. So if you want to do continuous integration, if you want to be able to run automated tests, a pipeline regression test, smoke tests, we are built from the ground up to do that as well. I'm showing you the individual UI. This is what you'd see on your local machine when you're building tests. But we also have a containerized version of Test.ai, runs from the command line. It has a REST API that you can use to extract test data and test results. And we've got a number of examples of integrations with everything from Jenkins to GitLab, GitHub Actions to TestRail. So we have a lot, because we have that ability, we have a lot of flexibility in how we integrate with your existing test schemes. All right, anything else at this point? We have 9 minutes before we end this, but let's go ahead and let's go through the rest of this. So I just want to talk a little bit more about what's going on here. Actually, I'm gonna leave this here because I like going back and forth. So essentially, really quick overview of what we just did there. When we start the bot running on an app, go ahead, pull up that app. See if it'll pull up. It won't pull up, but let's pull up this app. Why not? We run it against an app. We are able to go through. We run our machine learning model against the UI that is displayed by a given app or a given website. And that machine learning model looks at such things. It looks at element location, it looks at location on the screen. Again, it looks at text, it looks at proximity to other elements. It looks at colors, it looks at a lot of different stuff. It also does look at DOM structure unless we tell it not to. We have the ability to run this purely visual only, but just like with a user, they're going to have a lot of cues, a lot of subconscious cues, honestly, that tell them how to interact with an app based upon what they've done previously. We use the same thing for our machine learning model. So we run the machine learning model against that, parse it out, and then break every screen into specific elements, anything that the bot believes that we can interact with. And this actually helps us also with a lot with single page applications, with AJAX interactions, things like that, where you're going to see constantly updating data based upon user interactions. Every time we take an action, we verify and recheck the screen to see if anything's changed, so we have the most current data available. Again, we're testing the way that a user would interact with your app. So if something doesn't show up on the screen, we don't see it. If something does show up on the screen, we do. If a user has to take a particular action, we do too. And this will help you with your usability testing to be able to say, you know what, yes, this shows up in the DOM, but it's a really, really awkward path to get to it. So we're not just testing the DOM, we're testing the entire application here. So anyways, sorry about the sidetrack there, but yeah, so we break this apart, we identify elements, we label them. So in this case, we'd label this search bar as a search bar. And at that point, our bot now knows and understands, and anytime it comes across a search bar in the application, it will know what to do with it. Not just on this screen, any screen where it finds anything search bar. And once we have that, we can go and we can ingest it into any test case that we have. We can use it across our entire test suite. We don't have to keep relabeling it. We don't have to maintain some central repository of fixture links or XPaths or CSS identifiers. We don't have to do that. We literally just tell the bot, that's what this is. And the bot now understands for the rest of your suite. And that keeps your tests fast. That keeps them resilient. That helps your testers test quickly and test well. And because of all of that, let me go ahead and go back down. This means you can build tests on one platform, move those tests over to another platform. You can use your training from one test to build other tests in that same platform. This means that your time to your first test. I mean, we just saw that I took an app from a mobile device, pulled it up, started building tests within 30 seconds. That is incredibly fast. And it's also incredibly easy. That means you can get everybody involved. You can get your PMs involved in building tests. You can get your devs involved in building and maintaining tests as they add new features. Your testers, they can be doing manual testing. They can do exploratory testing sessions and be building tests while they do it. It's that simple. This means that you get accelerated time to coverage. For every person who can build a test, for every person who you reduce time to test, you're increasing your ability to maintain coverage, to increase coverage while still testing stuff that really matters. You're able to move your testers away from spending their time on regression tests and smoke tests and repetitive testing, and set them loose on digging into your application, getting a better sense of usability, doing exploratory testing, finding corner cases or interesting scenarios where you may need to rethink what you're doing. We're taking the rote work away from them and letting them really shine at what testers are really good at. And then finally, we reduce our maintenance burden. Every automator knows that every test they build is going to come back to them tenfold in effort for maintenance. And what we've done is we've reduced that to the point where you don't have to keep adding testers. You don't have to keep adding coders just to maintain your existing automated test suite. You can do that on the fly. And that is Test.ai. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Do we have any other questions? All right. Let's see. All right, yeah, definitely feel free to post questions in the chat. All right, taking a look. Don't be shy. I like questions here. As you can tell, I definitely do like to talk. So what if you have an existing, yeah, okay, so if you have an existing test suite, if you're already using Selenium, you're already using Cypress, you're already using Appium, how do we make this available for you guys? So what we do is we've launched the Test.ai SDK actually a couple of weeks ago. And what that does is it takes the same power that we use here, where we're able to use machine learning models to parse applications, identify elements, and use them. And we've built an SDK that you can pull into Selenium, and we're about to launch for Appium, we're about to launch for Cypress, and about to launch for other test creation platforms as well, test automation platforms as well. You're able to go in and you're able to import Test.ai and start using Test.ai identifiers in your existing code. So instead of using, for instance, with Selenium WebDriver, using find element by XPath or find element by ID, you can use find element using our Test.ai driver, and it will use the same machine learning model and then pull that element back for use with Selenium, or for use with Cypress, or for use with Appium. And so what we're doing is we're trying to make it as simple as possible for your testers to quickly build, easily maintain, and produce fast, reliable, resilient tests. All right, last question. We're coming up on the half hour. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions at this point. But yeah, no, I mean, thank you for taking the time. I enjoy showing what we're able to do. And thank you for coming to see Test.ai. Have a great day.